Welcome to Yoga with Lynn on a Wednesday evening. Pay attention to how you feel as you do your practice this evening. Your practice is at your own risk, so don't do anything that doesn't feel right, and know that you can adjust any posture that we do to make it right for you, or you can take a rest. I'm going to start lying on our backs. Find a comfortable position on your mat. Stretch your legs if that's comfy. If your lower back feels a bit uncomfortable, then bent knees and feet on the floor gives your lower back a bit of a stretch, so that's always an option. And as you lie, see if you can be aware of any movement of air on your skin. So if you have a door open or window open, there will be a breeze that comes through. Might not be all the time, you've got to be listening out for it, feeling out for it. And even if you don't have a window open, there's still air around. Can you sense what the air feels like in contact with your skin? Constant awareness. So you're relaxed, your body's certainly relaxed, your mind open to any sensations that your body can feel on the skin. Maybe some parts of your body are more sensitive than others. Fingers and toes particularly. Face perhaps. Take a few deeper breaths. And then bend your knees, bring your feet onto the mat. Take your arms a little bit wider out to the sides. You're going to move the knees in time with the breath. So take a breath in with your knees pointing to the ceiling. Then as you exhale, let your knees drop over to the right side. You pivot onto the outside edges of your feet, or your edges of your feet, sorry. As you breathe in, you come back to the center, feet roll flat on the floor. And as you breathe out, your knees drop over to the left side. So you alternate sides with each out breath, and every in breath, your knees come back to the center. You continue in time with your own breath. Next time you come up from the left side, stay at the center. Stretch both legs out. Push your heels away, pull your toes up towards your face. And then take your arms up beyond your head. Stretch as long as you can. Keep pushing the heels away. Take your upper arms a bit closer to the floor. Stretch your fingers wide. Stretch your toes wide, separating everything, every finger, every toe, away from its neighbour. Then relax your hands and your feet, your arms and your legs. Bend your knees, feet onto the mat. Knees onto your chest, hands around your knees. Move your knees from side to side. A bit of a massage on the floor for your lower back. And place your feet back down on the floor. You're going to roll to one side, come up to standing. For our salute to the sun. So you're going to stand at the top edge of your mat, looking out away from the mat. And stand as tall as you can. So consider what lets you stand up tall. Certainly being grounded through your feet into the mat. Steady, even footprints. Bit of engagement of your core. And you want your chest to feel lifted, so top of your arm bones slightly closer to the wall behind, just minimally, but just enough to make that nice broadness through your top chest. And the crown of your head lifting towards the ceiling. But your chin stays parallel to the floor. It's more of a feeling like you're being lifted up from behind the backs of your ears. And lift your arms up to the ceiling. So can you straighten your elbows as you stand there? They don't have to be parallel, but your arms are straight. And then your upper arms move closer to the wall behind. And look up. Reach your arms back and wide. Make sure you've got a long neck so your shoulders are relaxed away from your ears. Lift your chest towards the ceiling. Still an even footprint. Still straight elbows. Look forwards, reach up. And then forward fold. Bend your knees as much as you need to. Get your fingertips on the floor. Then relax your shoulders, relax your head and neck. Right leg back to a lunge. Lift your chest, look forwards. Left foot back to down face dog. Tummy button to spine. Slide forwards to plank and hold that steady. So breathe slowly. Place your knees gently down on your mat. Elbows close in by your sides. A smooth lower down of your front body onto the floor. Silently down. And roll your shoulders back. Take a lift of your chest. Look back down at the floor. Push up to hands and knees. Tuck your toes under. Lift your hips up. We're coming into down face dog. Every time you come into down face dog, just see if that's your best comfortable position. For some people, you might want to step your feet a little bit forwards, but however far you step your feet forwards, you shouldn't be able to get your heels right down on the floor. So just a little bit back from that place where your heels will go on the floor. And then walk through your legs. So stretching one leg at a time. As you do one leg at a time, you might get a bit more stretch, so your heel might just about touch the floor here. And then stretch both legs. Your weight goes onto your left foot, look between your hands, step your right foot through to a lunge. And then spring off your back foot, come back into your forward fold. Take a deep bend of both knees so your hips drop down. Then keep your hips there, lift your shoulders up. And then straighten your legs to come all the way up. Reach your palms up, palms together at the top. And then keep the height as you slide your palms down. Your standing tall position once again. Lift your arms. Look up, reach back and wide. Stretch out for the back corners of the ceiling. And look forwards, reach up. Forward fold. Left leg back to a lunge. And lifting your chest. Right foot back, down face dog. Tummy button to spine, nice and firm through your hands and feet in the mat. Keep that pressure down and the drawing in of your tummy button, slide forwards to plank. So your option here is to leave your knees lifted if you're feeling strong. Place your knees on the floor if you'd like a little bit of assistance. Keep your elbows close in by your sides. Lower yourself down. If your knees are lifted, maybe you can land everything at the same moment, but just as silently as before. Roll your shoulders back, lift your chest. And look down, push up to hands and knees. Tuck your toes under, down face dog. So find the right place for your feet. Draw your tummy button up towards your spine. Find the same stretch in your legs. So your calves pull a little bit closer to the wall behind. But also the top of the backs of your legs can stretch as well. It's like the backs of your thighs are splaying out to the wall behind. Lengthening, widening, coming closer to the wall behind. Weight on your right foot, look between your hands. Left foot comes forwards to a lunge. So you're going to spring off your right foot, come into your forward fold. And a deep bend of your knees, hips down low, shoulders lift. Straighten your legs to come up, palms together, slide your palms down. And with your breath, a breath in to lift your arms. Exhale, back bend. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, right leg back to a lunge. Exhale, down face dog. Inhale, plank. Option to drop your knees. Exhale, lower down. Inhale, lift your chest. Exhale, down face dog. So hands and feet where you think they're best. Tummy button to spine, nice and grounded down through your hands and feet. And imagine that you had one of those big long rulers that they used to have in school, the big metre long wooden ruler. And you're going to take it underneath your body from the underside of your wrists up to your hip crease. But it won't quite fit, it's just a little bit too long. So you've got to find a way to make a bit more length to squeeze it in. Yes, that was beautiful. So lots of movement then. Okay, it's gone, we've got space again. So weight on your left foot, look between your hands. A breath in to step your right foot forwards. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale up. Exhale, palms down. Breath in. Breath out. Inhale, lift your arms. Exhale, back bend. Inhale, lift back up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, left leg back. Exhale, down face dog. Inhale, plank. Option to drop your knees. Exhale, lower down. Inhale, lift your chest. Exhale, down face dog. So no rush, find your best place. And then we're going to put that wooden ruler against the front side of your upper body once again. So find the space to accommodate it. And then weight on your right foot, look between your hands, a breath in, left foot forwards. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, stand up. Palms together at the top. Exhale, palms down. Breath in here. And a breath out. Then release your arms, step your feet a little bit apart. Just take a moment, let the chatter subside. And for our balance today, we're going to need a little bit of space behind. I might come diagonally on. You don't need a wall because we're going to sort of take it in stages, but you do want space behind you. So I'm going to offer you 3 things to make you really secure in your balance, however far you want to take it today. And those 3 things are going to be where you hold your eye gaze. You're going to find somewhere where you can hold your eye gaze. It's going to be a lift of your tummy button to spine as if you're being lifted up. And finally, a tightening of the leg that lifts off the floor. So I'll remind you of all those things. Work out which one or which combination of them gives you the balance that you need. So you're going to take a breath in to lift your arms. And then as you exhale, come into a forward fold. You can bend your knees as much as you need to. Just be looking down at the floor. Place your fingertips on the floor. That's why you need to bend your knees as much as you need. And we're going to pick up the left leg first. So you're going to have your right toes and each of your sets of fingertips at the corners of a sort of fairly large triangle. The larger the triangle, the easier to balance. So if you want to go harder right from the start, you can come a little closer to your foot. You find where it's going to be. Now you find a place to hold your gaze on the mat or on the floor in front of you. You draw your tummy button up towards your spine as if you're being picked up, as if you could pull your tummy button even further up, you'd be lifted up off the floor. Your weight's on your right foot and your 2 sets of fingertips. And stretch the left leg out behind. So it can lift just a couple of inches off the floor or it can come to parallel. But the left leg, the lifted leg, is tight straight, tummy button lifting, eye gaze steady. Transfer as much weight onto your right foot as you can, so there's less on your fingertips. And if you want to challenge your balance from here, you take one hand onto your standing ankle, maybe 2 hands. You play around with what works. But your gaze, steady, tummy button lifting, lifted leg tight. And then take both sets of fingertips back down onto the floor. Take a bend of your right knee and bring your left foot back down. Feet hip distance apart. Take a good bend of both knees. Tuck your tailbone under, tuck your chin in. Roll back up to standing. The other side's going to be just as well balanced. So a breath in to lift your arms. A breath out to forward fold. So as much bend as you want to. You're going to find those 3 corners of the triangle with your 2 sets of fingertips and your left toes. Find a place to hold your gaze. Draw your tummy button up as if you've got a belt around your middle, your waist, and it's being pulled up towards the ceiling. Or you've got a belt on and someone's lifting you up from the back of your belt, pulling you up. Tighten the right leg, lift it out behind, just as high as you want to lift it. So tightness in the back leg, a lift at your tummy button, and a steady gaze. And maybe you can take one hand or both onto your standing ankle. And then both sets of fingertips back down on the floor. A bend of your standing leg. Let the other foot come back down on the floor. Take a good bend of both knees. Tuck your tailbone under, tuck your chin in. You're going to roll up one more time. And then take a lie down on your front, on your mat. Make a pillow with your hands to rest your forehead on. Take a few breaths there. Going to work the back of the body, and when you work your muscles contract when they work, and so when you work a particular part of your body it should kind of shorten a little bit because contracting, shortening, and then the opposite side would lengthen. So if we work the back of the body, then the front of the body should feel long. So you can think about the muscles that we use as we use them, but you can also think about lengthening at the front of the body as well. That gives you the same kind of work, it brings the same muscles into play. So resting your forehead on your hands, tuck your toes under. Your toes want to be about hip distance apart, and then lift your knees up off the floor. So when you lift your knees, feel how you can squeeze your thighs. Make your legs as tight as you can. And then without lifting or lowering your legs, so knees stay off the floor, you're going to point your toes out behind you. So where your toes are on the floor, now they stretch out behind. So you haven't got their support, it's the muscles in the backs of your legs that are lifting your legs. It's not high, it's more long. Probably a millimetre closer to the wall behind, as if you could just touch it if you stretched out, and then lower your legs back down onto the floor. Going to repeat that, but we're going to bring the upper back in as well. So tuck your toes under, and set that up again. Lift your knees, squeeze your thighs. Make your lower back feel a little bit lengthened as well, like you're pulling your tailbone down towards your heels as you squeeze your thighs. When you're ready, stretch your toes out behind. So legs are where they are before. Fingertips to temples. Elbows away from the floor, lift your chest. So feel how your upper arms and your upper back are tight in order to lift. Let your upper back be doing the work. Stretch your toes a little more out behind you. Float your elbows up. Float your upper back into the space that's just a bit above it. And then gently lower your legs. Lower your chest, make your pillow again, rest your forehead on your pillow. Got 2 more variations on this. You don't have to stay with what I do. You can continue doing just the legs or just the arms that we've done. Find what works for you. So toes tuck under, knees lift, squeeze your thighs, tailbone lengthens down towards your heels, and then point your toes out behind. Really stretch them long. Fingertips to temples, elbows a little bit off the floor. Breath in to lift your chest. So keep your toes pulling out behind. Feel how you're lengthening from your tummy button to your throat. And then swim your arms wide out to the side. So now your arms are out to the side, turn your palms forwards, turn your whole arm in that direction, even your armpits. Give your chest a little bit more lift by doing that. One more breath in, biggest lift, biggest lengthen in the front of your body, and then exhale, lower back down. Pillow again, rest your forehead. Tuck your toes, lift your knees, squeeze your legs, point your toes out behind. Fingertips to temples, breath in to lift your chest. So long front body, from your toes to your hips, from your hips to your collarbones. Arms swim out to the side, but then instead of keeping them there, this time we're going to swim them all the way around to the back. So now your toes pull to the wall behind, your fingers pull to the wall behind, your shoulders roll back to the wall behind. Just your chest, centre of your chest is easing forwards, everything else pulling back. Squeeze your upper arms closer together. And then lower back down. You can keep your arms by your sides if you want to. Turn your head one way, or make your pillow again. Bring your hands under your shoulders. Push yourself up to hands and knees. So hands and knees with a little bit of space in front of you on the mat, this space here, because you're going to take your hands into that space. So now you can see my knees and my hands are way further apart than my shoulders and my hips. You're reaching forwards with your hands. Take your knees as wide apart as the mat, let the big toes touch at the back. In a side stretch. So where your right hand is now, you're going to place your left hand, and your right hand is going to move off the mat. Keep your left hand where it is, palm pressing into the mat. Ease your hips back towards your heels. They shouldn't reach because of how far you moved forwards. If they do reach, then come back up again, reach a bit further forwards. So let your right elbow rest on the floor. That arm is just relaxed. Your left elbow straight. You can relax your head and neck. And as you pull your hips back and press your left hand firmly into the ground, you get a stretch on your left side. Do what you can to get a nice stretch. And as you breathe in, that's when you push a little bit harder into your left palm. Pull back with your hips, get the biggest stretch you can. And as you exhale, you ease off just a little bit, so that when you breathe in again, you're ready to re-stretch to your maximum. So a few breaths there. One more breath in. And a breath out. Lift your hips forwards. So the stretch comes away, and then you can walk your hands back to the centre for a moment. So hands forwards. You know if your hands were far enough forwards, make the placement where it's good for you. And then walk your hands around to the left, so your left hand goes to the top right corner of your mat, or wherever your left hand was before. That hand stays there. Your knees and feet stay where they are. You take a breath in, and as you exhale, you ease your hips back. So rest down onto your left arm. Let that just be comfy. head and neck too. Right arm is straight. You get a feel for where that stretch is, and then as you breathe in, press firmly down with your right hand. Send your hips back to the wall behind. Easing a little bit with every breath out. Stretching again with every breath in. One more big stretch. And as you exhale, lift your hips. Walk your hands back to the centre. Bring them back underneath your shoulders. And sit your hips back on your heels. So use your hands to get your hips down as low as they can. Maybe if you weren't pressing with your hands, your hips would spring up a little bit. So use your hands. And then with your hips squeezed down comfortably, ease your rib cage in between your knees. So as you sort of wriggle it down in between, if you can, eventually place your forehead on the mat. And if it doesn't reach the mat, make something with your hands so that it will comfortably reach some base. Hands under your shoulders, bring yourself back up and come all the way up to standing. And for our standing postures today, we're going to have the mat the same way that you have for the salute to the sun. So I might go on a little bit of an angle actually. So side stretch position, might like a bit of head. Parsvottanasana. And we're going to start towards the back end of the mat in order in a moment to take a step forward. So just have your feet comfortable distance apart. You're going to take your hands behind your back and interlock your hands. So the reason you're going to interlock your hands is because you're going to roll your shoulders back and be as broad as you can through your chest, squeezing your upper arms together. And if you can't take your hands together, if you haven't got the flexibility to bring your hands together, hands on hips, but still upper arms squeezed together. Sometimes when it's tight, your shoulders roll forwards, and that's what we're avoiding. So hands on hips will definitely allow you to send your shoulders back and squeeze your upper arms together. And if you found clasping your hands really easy, then try taking your whole length of your hand together, so at the wrist. That's quite tough. That's a bit too much for me, I think. But most important is that you keep this lift here. We're going to fold forwards, and when you fold forwards, there's always a desire to roll your shoulders forward. So the arm position is in order to remember that your chest is lifted and your upper body stays long. So I will of course remind you. Left leg turns out, right leg steps a comfortable step forwards. So not your biggest step, not first warrior step. And you want to have your hips pointing forwards. So where they'd like to turn a little bit to the left, you get your hip bones parallel with the front edge of your mat. So squeeze your upper arms behind you, lift your arms back. They may not come very far back, but have a feel that you're squeezing your upper arms and lifting, and your chest is lifted, and that's not gonna change. So dig your back heel into the floor, draw your tummy button in towards your spine, take a breath in, and then as you exhale, very slowly hinge. Very slowly, because you're thinking about keeping that lift in your chest and your shoulders pulled back. You're also going to slide your hips as if towards the wall behind, although that doesn't happen much, because as you come forwards, your centre of gravity comes forward. So your weight would come more onto the front foot. You're pushing it back again to keep it more even. So it doesn't matter how far you come back. Dig your back heel into the floor, tummy button to spine. Squeeze your upper arms together behind you. Really roll your shoulders back. You can now let your head hang, but your chest stays lifted. Your shoulders are still rolled back. And if your front knee needs a bit of a bend, if it's feeling tight on your kneecap, a little micro bend in your right knee. So dig the back heel in. Squeeze your upper arms together. Lift your fist towards the ceiling. Nice, beautiful. Good lifted chests. One more slow breath here. Keep squeezing your upper arms. That's quite strong. And then relax your arms. Let go of your hands. Relax your shoulders. Bend your right knee. Bring your fingertips onto the floor and step your left foot, in line with your right foot. So hip distance apart. A moment's rest there in a bent knee forward fold. And tuck your tailbone under. Tuck your chin in. Roll back up to standing. Perfect. So we can stay here because we can step back for the other side. You're going to take your hands behind your back again. And as you take them, if you clasp your hands, feel which thumb is closest to your body and change the grip of your hands. So the other thumb is then closer to your body. And if you're still at the front of the mat, you're going to step your right foot back. If you walked back, remember it's your left foot that's coming forwards. So left leg in front of right leg. That's it, left leg is in front. Square your hips to the front of the mat. Lift your chest, roll your shoulders back. Take that squeeze of your upper arms, whether your hands are clasped or your hands are on your hips. Tummy button to spine, back heel digging into the floor. Take a breath in. As you exhale, hinge. So as you hinge, you push your hips back, keeping the centre of gravity back. You keep your chest lifted, your arms squeezing, your fist lifting. A little bend in your left knee. No collapse in your upper back, top chest, that area, because you're still squeezing your arms up and behind you. You can let your head hang though, because that's independent of the rest of your torso. Back heel firmly down into the floor, tummy button to spine. Squeeze of your upper arms together, a lift of them up towards the ceiling. Stay there for a couple more breaths. Beautiful. Relax your arms, let go of your hands, and then bend your front knee. Fingertips on the floor in front of your left foot, and then step your right foot forwards. Bend of both knees, tailbone under, chin in, and a roll back up to standing. So make sure you're at the front end of your mat. And come into another forward fold. So take a breath in to lift your arms. And as you exhale, forward fold. You can bend your knees because we want to get fingertips on the floor once again. And you're going to step your right foot back to a lunge. You drop the back, so we're in a lunge. You're going to drop your right knee, back knee down onto the floor. Ease your hips forwards. Ease your left knee forwards, and if your left knee comes forwards of your left ankle, you creep your foot forwards. Stay there, I'm just going to adjust. Right hand flat on the floor, left hand on your left knee. A lift of your chest, a Press down on the left foot and the top of the right foot, and you're going to turn to the left. So your right hand on the floor is a bit of a lever to turn your chest to the left. You can keep your hand on your knee if you like. You can take it behind your back, palm face out, in order to feel the left shoulder smoothing out behind you, lifting away from your line of vision. Or you can lift your hand up to the ceiling. Choice is yours, whatever feels comfy. If you're lifting your hand up, your palm is facing the same wall that you're looking at. And you can stay here if you want to. You can tuck your right toes under behind and lift your left knee. You can't see me do that. So press down everything that's on the floor. Feel the stability when you really firm down into the floor. Stability and the ability to turn to the left as well. Lovely. Drop the knee. Look back down at the floor. Take your left hand outside your left toes. Tuck your back toes under, lift your knee. Send your left foot back to down face dog. And then step forwards with your right foot. So we've got a lunge in the other side. This time right leg forwards. Drop your left knee on the floor. Rest the top of your foot on the floor. And slide your hips forwards. Slide your chest forwards. Slide your right knee forwards. Make sure your ankle is underneath your knee. Left hand on the floor, right hand on your right knee. A lift of your chest, and then a turn to the right. So take your time to turn. If you want to, you tuck the left toes under and lift the knee. You can put it down any time you want, but firm down through your left hand, your right foot, and the toes on the back foot as well. And take the right hand behind your back, palm face up, to help you turn. To remind you to roll the right shoulder back, or you can lift the arm up to the ceiling. But use the floor for control and leverage. Gently place your knee back down on the floor, right hand outside your right foot. Tuck the back toes under, lift the knee. We're going to step back to down face dog just for a moment. And then place your knees down on the floor. Have a moment in child's pose. Let everything rest there in child's pose. Bring your hands under your shoulders, lift your chest, bring yourself upright. We're going to take a seat on the floor. We're going to sit in Upavista Konasana, which is wide leg pose. So feel free to have a block to sit on. Take your feet wide apart. So you kind of know if this is a position that's comfy for you, and you definitely know if it's not. If it's not, sit on a block. It just gives you just a little bit of lift, makes it slightly easier to sit here. And the other thing that makes it slightly easier to sit here is a bend of your knees. So give a bend of your knees, just see if you would rather be like that, and it's fine to be like that. So to sit up tall, it's like you've got to kind of lean a bit forwards, because the temptation is to lean under and tuck under. If you could imagine that you had no legs and you just had a rounded underside, you're going to roll forwards on your sort of rounded underside. So feel how that gives you a bit of angle at your hips, a bit of lean forwards. So come back upright if you'd lean forwards. Legs bent or straight. You're going to take the back of your right hand on your right leg and your left hand behind your back, palm face out. So here is where you might want to bend your right knee. See how it is with a bent leg and a straight leg. Make your own choice. So take a breath in. As you exhale, slide your right fingers down towards your inside ankle. Doesn't matter if they don't get anywhere near. If they go further, then that's great. Picture that no leg body again, just rolling onto its rounded underside. So give it a moment to feel that this is where it's going to stay for a minute or two. So in this exercise, we don't want to be collapsing the chest again. We want to lift the chest. It's that broad rolling back of the shoulders feeling. That's your lift of your chest. The other thing we want to do is, rather than how your body wants to turn to face the floor, we want to turn to face it as if up towards the ceiling. So lift your left arm up towards the ceiling. If that doesn't feel good, then take your hand behind your back again. That's a fine option. We're going to take a breath in and lift and broaden the chest. And take a breath out as if you're turning your chest towards the ceiling. Your arm, left arm might even go out behind you a little bit. So breath in again, lift your chest. Breath out to turn towards the ceiling, like you're rolling your tummy button away from the floor. One final breath in. And a breath out. And look down at the floor in between your feet. Take your left hand behind your back, palm face out. Bring yourself back upright. Take your hands either side of your hips, maybe a good bend of your knees. Get yourself reset. And then stretch out. So you might want to keep a bend in your left knee, that's absolutely fine. Back of the left hand on the left leg, bent or straight. Right hand behind your back, palm face out. To remind you to smooth out this shoulder, to roll it back. Breath in. And as you exhale, slide your left fingers down towards your inside ankle. So go slowly, just find the point where it wants to stop. If you hold at that point, like not your absolute maximum stretch, but just where it's starting to say, yep, that's enough. Hold it there for a moment, and then sometimes you can go a little bit further. And if you don't, it doesn't matter anyway. So the chest wants to start to collapse a little bit. So you're going to lift your chest. And lift your right arm up to the ceiling. So as you breathe in, lifted open chest. As you breathe out, turn your chest towards the ceiling. Breath in to lift your chest, stretch your arms, stretch your legs. Exhale, open up to the ceiling. One more breath in. Final breath out here. And then look back down at the floor. Right hand behind your back. Slide your hand back up. Hands either side of your hips. Bend your knees. Bring your legs gently together. Give them a little bit of a shake. And then take a lie down on your back. If you've got a block underneath you, just move that to one side. And as you lie down, have your knees bent. Setu Bandha bridge pose. So your feet come in nice and close to your hips and they're hip distance apart with your toes very slightly turned in towards each other. Arms by your sides, palm face down. And snuggle your arms and your elbows in as close as you can. Ground down through your upper arms. Ground down through your feet. Tilt your tailbone under and then lift your hips up away from the floor. So push down through your upper arms, push down through your feet. There's no rush to lift up. Just feel how high your hips are happy to lift for now. So 2 options with your arms. You can bend your elbows and point your fingers to the ceiling and push down with your upper arms. Feel how that gives you quite a good leverage. Or you can interlock your hands behind your back and then one arm at a time tuck it underneath you so the outside edges of your arms are down towards the floor. So 2 options with your arms. And then that leverage that you've got with your upper arms, you're going to press really firmly down so that you can lift your upper back further away from the floor. Then square your feet up, push down into your feet, lift your hips a little bit higher away from the floor. A steady breath. Finally, your shins, move your shins away from your face. And as you move them away, as you make that action to move them away, feel how your hips and your chest lift even higher. We're just going to stay here for one more breath as you make all those actions. Lovely. And then keep your hips lifted, but take your arms as wide as the mat. Let your upper back be flat on the mat. And then your hips slowly but firmly pull towards your heels so that your back can roll back down on the floor from top to bottom. It doesn't have to rush, it goes smoothly down. So you can take longer to roll down if you want. When you have rolled down, bring your knees onto your chest and take your hands around your knees. Take a breath in, and then as you exhale, bring your forehead up towards your knees. Relax your shoulders away from your ears. Tuck into a tight little ball. And then gently place your upper back down on the floor, then the back of your head. Have a rock side to side. Place your feet on the mat. Turn your palms face up, take your arms just a little bit away from you. Squeeze your lower back down onto the floor, give it a stretch. Feel how you can lengthen it by pushing it down. And then relax. So you can leave your knees bent if your lower back has any difficulty, or you can stretch your legs out along the mat. Shavasana pose with legs stretched out. So heels can go as wide apart as the mat, and let your feet flop wherever they want to flop. Maybe that's out to the side, maybe it's not. No effort in your feet or your ankles or your legs. Your fingers and your hands completely relaxed. Rock your upper body just gently, your shoulders from side to side, so that you can tuck your shoulder blades down your back and then settle back down, resting the whole of your back on the floor. If that's made any discomfort lower down your back, make an adjustment again. Have your eyes closed. Feel the angle of your head on your neck, and if it feels like the back of your neck is lifting up a little bit away from the floor and your chin up to the ceiling, then take a bit of weight off the back of your head, tuck your chin down towards your collarbones, and then place your head back down on the floor, then let it relax. Scan your body for any tension. Scan your body for any sensation of breeze, any air moving on your body. If you feel any air as you feel out for it, what is the sensation that makes you know that it's air on skin? What does your skin feel like that makes you know that's what it is? And take your attention just to your body lying on the floor. Don't move your body. Notice though its stillness. It's like your mind is gently alert, but your body is completely relaxed. Your breathing deepen. Take 2 or 3 slow, deep breaths. And then back to natural breathing when you take them. Let those deep breaths in. Feel like the air coming into your body is feeding energy into your body. That body that's just lying still on the floor. Stretch your arms beyond your head once again. Bring your legs together. Push your heels away. Pull your toes up towards your face. Point your toes away. And then release that stretch. Bend your knees, bring your feet onto the mat. And bring both knees onto your chest. One hand on each knee. Use your hands to guide your knees round. Make some big circles with your knees. And then go the other way round. Try a figure of 8. See how that works. A nice massage of your lower back. Figure of 8 goes both ways as well. And then come to rest at the centre. Place your feet on the floor. Make a mental check which way you're going to roll. If you've got the choice, you go to the right. If you want to go the other way, then do. Roll yourself over. Have a moment there on your side. And then bring yourself back up to sitting. Namaste. Thank you for joining me tonight. I hope to see you next week.